The story begins by showing a prison guard named Green. He was seen preparing money to be given to someone named Balaam. Balaam is a special prisoner in prison who is able to bribe the guards, gets many exclusive facilities, and most importantly he can still run his drug business from inside prison. Not long after, new inmates began to enter this prison. One of the prisoners, Jack Stone, received cruel treatment from Green. It turns out that Jack is a former police officer who killed his own colleague for some reason. After receiving rough treatment, Jack cleaned his body. Jack thought back to his late wife, and the reason he could be in prison for robbing a bank and killing a police officer. The next day, when the prisoners were eating, suddenly a prisoner named Sam appeared. Even though he looks like an innocent man, Sam turns out to be Balaam's nephew. Sam asks for a share of security money for all new inmates. One of the inmates didn't want to give Sam any money and he immediately beat him until he passed out. Sam then approached Jack and started asking for money forcefully, but suddenly,
"My name is Simeon."
Their fight was broken up by the guards. Sam intended to make Jack battered, but it turned out that Sam was the one who was battered. After his fight with Sam, Jack was put in a special room that had a monitor in it. Balaam appears on the monitor and starts talking to Jack. It turns out that Jack is the person who always interferes with Balaam's illegal business. In fact, Jack always follows him wherever he goes. Balaam wondered why Jack was willing to follow him this far. Even though Balaam had explained that he was like a king in prison and he was highly sought after outside prison. But that didn't deter Jack, because the only reason Jack followed Balaam was to kill him and avenge his wife's death. That night, Jack, who was sleeping, was visited by 3 suspicious inmates, and suddenly, elsewhere, a reporter named Tricia Sinclair was surprised by a bag containing important documents about Balaam from an unknown person. Then Tricia intends to meet a prosecutor named Johnson. Tricia was unable to meet Johnson and instead met his assistant, Mark. Feeling that Mark's behavior was strange, Tricia immediately left there. It turns out that Tricia managed to meet the prosecutor in front of the building. Tricia tells about Jack and Balaam's case. Tricia has a lot of evidence and records about corrupt police and officials. The scene shifts to prison. The guard told Jack that someone had visited after meeting Tricia. Jack says use that information wisely. Then Jack returned to his cell and remembered his wife who gave him the necklace. Then William approached him. William is an FBI agent who disguises himself as a geek to find out who is a corrupt police officer. William said you beat up Balaam's cousin. Aren't you afraid of him? Then Jack asked, do you know where cell Balaam is? William said I didn't know, and the guards didn't know either. On the other hand, a woman named Keisha fights with Balaam's men and she wins. Keisha is William's colleague, an undercover FBI member. Then the guards took Keisha to Balaam's room and it turned out that Sam and his men were also there. Balaam says I don't care if you are my cousin. Balaam beat Sam's men one by one, because they were selling drugs without Balaam's knowledge. Then Balaam approached Keisha and said Katrina is my subordinate, if you beat her you will become my enemy. Balaam continued to tell Sam. Tell everyone in the cell, I will pay $100,000 to whoever kills Jack. Returning to Jack, here William tells Jack that his head is valued at $100,000 by Balaam. Suddenly 2 guards order everyone out, and 5 prisoners who want to kill Jack enter his cell. But Jack, with William's help, beat them all. The scene shifts to the prosecutor and he tells Balaam how could someone else have the notes and the flash disk. Balaam informed that all the information had been burned. But the prosecutor said there was a woman who had this evidence. Here Balaam wants Tricia killed and destroys the evidence. Then the prosecutor asked about Jack. Balaam says he will die before this case is finished. In the evening, when Tricia wanted to go home, she felt someone following her. Then his friend called that they would meet tonight. Back in prison while in the laundry room 3 guards want to kill Jack. Jack beat them even though he had a bruise on his stomach. He managed to beat them all. When he came out, 9 prisoners confronted him. Then Jack said, is it worth having your skull crushed for just $100,000? Hearing that sentence they all left because they were afraid. Meanwhile, Trisha felt like she was always being watched by someone since she came home from work. Trisha met her friend Allison in the apartment. Trisha tells Allison about Balaam's rot from Jack. Then in prison, William gave Keisha a code to carry out a plan. Then Keisha apologized to Katrina, but Katrina arrogantly said, "This is what I've been waiting for." Then Keisha, who was annoyed, made a fuss with Katrina, and deliberately didn't reply to Katrina's blow and then pretended to faint. Keisha was taken to the treatment room for treatment. After the nurses left, Keisha immediately took the bottle of alcohol and put it in William's belongings. Keisha also took the air ventilation key which William had prepared. Keisha even went down the ventilation shaft and started drawing a map on her stomach. After all her tasks were finished, Keisha planned to return to the treatment room, but she was surprised by the nurse who was about to enter the room. Luckily William came to distract the nurse so that Keisha could return without being noticed. On the other hand, Trisha returned to visit Jack, because she knew that Jack was innocent. Here Jack reveals his reason for killing his police colleague, namely because his colleague had conspired to kill his wife with Balaam. After finishing chatting with Trisha, William approached Jack again. Now Jack began to suspect that William was not just anyone. Jack thought that William was an undercover FBI agent. Then William said that he was indeed an FBI agent who had been monitoring prison developments with his colleague Keisha for 6 months. While he was busy chatting, suddenly another prisoner started attacking Jack. Because he was deemed to be making a fuss, Jack was put in an isolation room, while William faced the prison head. Meanwhile, Balaam, who was always in his cell, suddenly had to leave his cell because his daughter came to visit. Balaam's daughter already knows about her father's illegal business. She cut off his one-sided relationship with his father because she felt very disappointed. William, who has now finished meeting with the prison head, begins to carry out his actions with Keisha. Keisha pretended to faint and was taken by 2 guards to the treatment room. However, in one of the hallways William appeared and finished off one of the guards, along with Keisha, who also knocked out another guard. They used a sprayer that had been mixed with an anesthetic to anesthetize the guards in the control room and CCTV room. In the CCTV room, Keisha informed that Balaam had left the visiting room. After that, William opened Jack's isolation cell. One guard came in and Jack immediately beat him. William gave instructions to Jack through the guard's communication device. Now Jack is wearing a prison guard outfit, and William gives directions so that Jack can meet Balaam and get his revenge. Then Jack left with William and Keisha's direction. However, the problem occurred because a guard knocked on the CCTV room door. Luckily Keisha managed to escape through the ventilation. Then 2 guards knocked on the control room door. Because he was under pressure, Jack ordered William to open all the prison cell doors. After all the doors were opened, the prisoners began to riot. On the other hand, Keisha fights with Katrina and her men. Even though Keisha struggled, she managed to beat them all. Then Balaam looks for Jack to end it all. The scene shifts to Trisha. It turns out her friend was the prosecutor's order to retrieve the information. Her friend, Allison, told Trisha to give her the file and pointed a gun at her. While Jack fights with Sam. While fighting with Sam, Jack's stomach was stabbed by Sam. But Jack still beat him until he passed out. On the other hand, William beat the police chief and his guards until they fainted. And several SWAT agents came to the prison. Then Jack met Balaam, and they fought. Jack vented his anger because of his wife's death by beating Balaam black and blue. When the SWAT agents arrived, Jack ran through the ventilation to meet William and Keisha. Meanwhile, on TV news, the prosecutor was also arrested because the FBI had revealed his collaboration with Balaam. While William took Jack to the police car as a prisoner. After that, Jack was promoted as William's partner in the FBI special agent. And the movie is over. Thank you for watching. Look forward to the next video.